Hello everyone, this is Mark from SineWave, and today we're going to go over Cradlepoint's NetCloud Manager operating system updates as well as the modem updates. And as you can see here, we are in NCM or NetCloud Manager. We have an R1900 online at this point, and we notice we have a NetCloud OS or NCOS of 725.61. And all of the NCOS updates are done at the group level. You cannot do them at a router only level. So we have to do them in groups. So first off, we should understand that there's a couple ways of doing this. One is, here is our functional group that router belongs in. I can simply click here, NCOS update, and then select my updates. You will not see anything older than the version you're currently running, so meaning you can't downgrade. There's a way to do that. It's just not this way. It's a whole nother video, but just know that's what we're seeing here. FR is feature release, so FR3, FR2, and 1. These are all feature releases. If you want to know what that means, and you should when you get ready to update, make sure you check out this link right here. This often gets overlooked, and this will tell you what's changed, security patches, is there a new, what's the new features, what's the known bugs, and those kind of things. So you may discover that really when you look at the features or patches being made or anything that's fixed, it really may not apply to you, so you would be fine staying with what you have currently. But this is, just know this is where you can do that at. However, it is not a good practice to do it that way. I have one device in here now, but you could have, multitude of devices. I've seen some accounts that have up to 250 devices in a single group. So what we're really trying to do in best practice is we create a group that we can test out that new NCOS system. And to do that, we're going to simply click add, and we'll name it test group. The product will be the R1900. And then the firmware version, we can select whichever firmware version we want to try out. You'll notice there's a whole lot here, a lot more here. Again, because it's blank slate, it's a blank group, so we can select whatever we want. The one thing I will point out is we look down here, we see all these feature releases, and notice they come out regularly, really every month. And in some cases, we can see that they're a few days apart. But what's important to know is there's also this feature release, or excuse me, the NCOS release called LTR. LTR is long-term release. This was designed by Cradlepoint for those organizations that don't really care about the new features coming out. They don't really care about the bells and whistles. What they want is a very secure, stable, tried and true operating system, and they do not want to change every single month. And that is what this was designed to do. So what Cradlepoint will tell you is that you can stay on this LTR for 6 months to a year. Can you stay on it longer than that? Of course you can. However, in a year time frame, there will be a new LTR put out, and you can go and camp out on that one for another year. So again, it's tested, very thoroughly vetted, and it's just a stable release. With that said, all of our edge kits that come out of our facility all come out with the LTR release. We do that because we know that in many instances, these kits aren't being utilized every day. And in many instances, these kits are designed to grab and go because you have some type of high precedence or emergency style, just got to grab your kit and go, and you just need it to work. So that is why we send out LTRs in our kits as we develop these and we build these out. So that's the point of the LTR. So we can create a group. Like I said, let's say we want to test this out. We're going to select this LTR version. The NCOS type, we will always select standard. There's a controller version type you can select. That is for something that we don't do. We can do it if you want to, if you're interested in it, we can certainly do it. But what it really is an adapter that connects to your router. So with that in mind, if you have an adapter connected to your router, this is saying, hey, we'll update both of these simultaneously, the adapter that's connected to your router as well as your router. However, it's just a router like our kits are. We will select standard. Click Save. Now we have this new group that we just created. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to go back to devices and we're going to select this router or one of our routers and that we want to test out, and we're going to move it in the test group and we'll hit move. Once we do that, we test it out on our bench, we test it on our vehicle, whatever your test criteria is. Use your current configuration that you normally would use, test out the OS, and then when you're satisfied to say, hey, we vetted this OS out, it works really well, there's no security issues, or our configuration works as it should, then we can go back to our operational group that has all of our routers in it, and then we can update those. If at any point you have a router out in the field that doesn't have the greatest connectivity, and there are some of those that we do see, especially in some rural areas, that maybe you're getting really low throughput or just a really dirty signal. So low throughput could be like 2 to 4 meg or lower. And those devices will have a hard time, because what's going to happen is these routers are going to reach out to NCO or the Net Cloud Manager and pull that load, the operating system down. That requires it to pull a fairly decent sized file and then reboot and come back online. If that doesn't happen, you could get an error. And it's oftentimes we see those errors, it'll still function properly. It'll just say something like, was not able to pull down the load. But there are times where it will go offline and it will not come back online on its own. It will really struggle, and that's really due to those not the greatest signal that you're receiving, or it's just a really dirty signal. I say dirty, like, really bad sign. Our signal noise ratio is really horrible. Like, it just depends. RF is very fluid, and it's not always straightforward, if you will. So if that does happen, it does go offline, just know in NCOS, in each router is baked in a 15-minute timer. So if it does not come back up and register back into NetCloud, the router will send off a sequence of events to roll back over to its last known configuration, and it will come back up. That could take a while, but just know that is a safety feature that is built in. And if you have issues with like some errors that get thrown at your way, sometimes they're very tough to decipher, but oftentimes, actually, I've yet to see one we were not able to clear. Some are harder than others, but they're typically fixable. So let us know if you need any help on that one. So that's how we would do the update of the NCOS. There's a part 2. So the part 2 is the modem update. Modem updates come out about one time, maybe twice a year, and traditionally I've seen them come out between January and February of each year. So that is something you also must update, in my opinion, because the carriers will work on, different bands maybe they're working on, or frequencies, or it's just it's security, right? And other things, a part of that modem update. It's a very critical piece of this. So to do that, again, that is done in groups. It's actually done in 3 ways. 1 is on the device itself. 2 is in NCM in groups. That's the way I would suggest doing it, because we can do multiple routers at the same time. And then a 3rd way we won't discuss, because that was incredibly convoluted and incredibly confusing for 95% of my customers, and even myself. It was like a lot of cross-referencing, just not user-friendly. So Cradlepoint came up with allowing modem updates to be done within groups. How we do that? We would go into groups, select the group we want to update. And you'll notice in here we have modems. We can select that. However, if you look down here, we also have this tab. We see 0 updatable, and they're all up to date. This 1 is how many routers you have in this group. So it could be like, say there's 10 routers. Well, 5 of them could be up to date, and maybe 5 of them are updatable. So you'll see 5 and 5. We can select this tab, or we can select modems here. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to show you live, but I can show you enough that it will be understandable. You'll be able to carry out this yourself. This modem, updatable modems can be kind of confusing. So if you see updatable modems, and let's say, for example, in this instance, I have one router in this group. Well, that one router in this group could have like one updatable modem, but you'll see one here, a number one here by AT&T, one here next to T-Mobile, Verizon, and so forth. What that is saying is, hey, you have one AT&T firmware you can update for this modem, one generic firmware update, T-Mobile, and so forth. So if we did have a number here, in this instance, it could only be one because, again, I only have one router. We would select these three buttons to the right. And I use AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile in my devices, so I would want to make sure that I update all three of these. Even if I only have a Verizon card in here right now, I'd still want to update these because, again, I switch them out. Normally I run with 2 SIM cards, so you definitely want to update the big 3 for sure. So simply click on these buttons. We would click update, and then it would kick off an update. If there was more than one router in this group, it would kick off an update for every single one of them. We could also schedule that update. So I can say, hey, on a week from now, on a Saturday, I want to update at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can do that. If we schedule it and we change our mind later on, we can come back here before the events get kicked off on the modem update, and we can cancel it, or we can run it right then and there. So that is how you would do it in this page. This is a preferred way because I can do multiple at the same time. The only downside I see with this is you do not see any status. It's either running or successful or failure. So it will show on this updates page. Again, I apologize, I don't have anything here to show you, but it'll tell you the status, running, or failed, or successful, which again are right here, and then software version. So there's not a lot of data to get from that. So let's show you another way. Go to devices. Now this way we can see the status, but understand this way is only one router at a time. So there's a limitation. So what we want to do is we want to remote into this. Now we can remote into device UI, meaning we can get directly into this device. Or we can also do this by, if we're attached to the kit itself or the router itself, we can, via Wi-Fi or Ethernet cable, we can just remote into the LAN IP address and get to the same location. So once this pops up, we'll show you where this modem update is done. Okay, so we remoted in and we're presented this screen. It looks very similar to NCM. There's a few exceptions. One thing, just side note, I like this status here. This status is where you can really get some good information on your internet connection. I mean, just a whole slew of things. Down to the cellular side, we can see tunnels. I don't have anything in here now, but you can see the actual the IKE status of these. Just a whole bunch of this. This is a very good tool to troubleshoot, especially. However, I would not make any configuration changes in here unless you know, I won't say we know what you're doing, but kind of know what you're doing. It will take, but there's nuance. There's a lot of nuance with that. So I would suggest not using this to actually make configuration changes. Do it in NCM. So we want to go down to systems, and then I think it's administration. System control, and then modem firmware. So here, now we can see they're all up to date. However, if you did have a updatable modem, you would simply click this upgrade, and it would tell you like the version that's available in each one of these lines. But if there was one, you would click update, and literally what would pop up is a status. It would show you it would say downloading, and it would give you a percentage as it's continuing to download, and then it would start loading that firmware, and then you'd be good. You can also click this check here. It's going to go back through and verify, and then tell you if it's up to date or not up to date. So this is how you would do that. Also, just another thing to note, if you're running dual modem, this is an internal modem that's in the R1900, but if I had a second modem, a dock attached to this, I could click the down arrow, select that modem, and be presented this as well for the second modem. So just keep that in mind. Hope this has been helpful, and let us know if you have any questions, and appreciate for watching. Thank you.